Hi everybody, thanks for coming to my virtual workshop. I hope that you enjoy making these flowers, and then all season you can just grab flowers from wherever and use this same technique to make an organic modern style arrangement. So I'm going to just walk you through the steps and show you what I do. So everybody's going to receive this blue ceramic pot, a bundle of flowers with a little bit of with different things, and we'll go through those too in a minute. And your pot will be prepped and ready, so we'll just start with that right away. So a little bit about the vase. So when I design something that is a little bit more sprawling or organic or whatever you want to call it, a little more modern, garden style, I love a lower, wider vase so that my stems can spread. I like them to cross in the vase and go wide at the bottom and come together in the middle, and so they can come out wide at the top. So that's what we're going to work on today. And so this vase is good because it's a little narrower at the top to hold it together. You don't need a ton of stuff to keep everything up, but it's wider at the bottom, and it's not very tall. You can see here it's about as tall as this coffee mug. And that's also, grab some coffee or wine, enjoy yourself, somewhere quiet, put on your favorite music. This is supposed to be a fun activity. We'll try to recreate it as best as we can. So there are a lot of mechanics you can use to make a low arrangement. Sometimes with a really wide mouth arrangement, you're going to need to use chicken wire in the vase. So what I would do then is I would create like a ball of chicken wire. I like the ones with the bigger holes, and then I shove it in the vase. And you can see it creates a support system to put your flowers, and that way you don't need to just load it with all these flowers. It allows you to give it more room and movement. And so, like in the vase, this kind of thing would happen, and it would hold it up. So that's one technique if you have something that you're having a hard time getting your flowers to stay. Now, of course, the taller the vase, the less mechanics you're going to need, but also with a very tall vase, the flowers tend to go straight instead of falling outwards, and so that's what we're going to work on today. But for this vase, I'm not going to use chicken wire because we don't need it, because just the shape of the vase works really well. But instead, I'm going to make a grid on top. And I'm going to show you how I do that. And yours are going to come with this already done because I have all this tape here. But you could use Scotch tape. Just kind of, once it's on there, pinch it, and I'll show you that. So I'm just ripping little pieces, and I'm going to make a grid, and I'll lift it up when I'm done so you can see it. And this tape I get at my floral wholesaler, and it's just like a really thin duct tape, and it's waterproof, so it stays really nice. But like I said, electrical tape, Scotch tape, pager tape, anything that you can use that's not super wide. And even if it is wide, you could come in and like pinch your wide tape together so it creates a little more room for your stems. And so I'm just going to do a small grid. I don't need a lot on this vase just because of the way this vase works. Okay. And I know you see that tape over the side here. I'm going to go close. That's going to actually be covered with florals, and you don't have to really worry about that part. And so now I've created this support system, and you can go and pinch them together so that the sticky part is all together and gives you a little bit more space. Pinch it. And so now I have this little web here. And that's really going to help support all my stems so that they're able to stay in place where I put them. Okay, and so then you're going to want to fill it with water. Where did I put my water? I like to fill a vase, especially when I first design it, at least half to 3/4 full. 3/4 is best. When you make that first cut of a flower right after receiving it, it's going to drink the most water. And then every day, just keep refilling your water, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when I'm done with the arrangement of how you do that with something that has this armature support system. You know, it's not as easy as just pulling it out of a mason jar, dumping the water out, and filling it again. So we'll talk about that too. So in everybody's flower packet, you're going to receive various types of ingredients to help you build this. So the first thing I use for any arrangement is I'm going to use something very sturdy or branchy that already is going to give me some shape to work with, and it's also going to come and create an armature to place my other flowers on. So it's a good one to enter first in your vase as you build on it. Now, this is Snowball Viburnum, which is what's ready right now. It's really beautiful. It'll bloom even more white. These are a good perennial, I say a lot, my daughter tells me that. It's a good perennial. You can use lilac, you can use 9-bark, maple leaves, crabapple branches, anything that's like really sturdy and branchy is a great way to start this type of design. And I'll show you why. And so you're probably at this point, I should probably tell you that you're going to need a scissors or a garden shears. I have a garden shears here, but I'm also going to be using this. You don't have to use a florist knife. I am just going to use it for this presentation because it'll stop me from cutting and then slamming this down because I don't really let it go. But for things that are branchy, I'm going to use the clippers. The scissors works great too. Or pruners, whatever you have on hand. Anything that's sharp and makes a good clean cut will make your flower happy and healthy. And so this is super branchy, and so I'm just going to cut little pieces off first to work with. We're just going to start. So I've just cut a very small piece, and with any arrangement, you want to make sure that anything that goes in the water is all the foliage is removed. That foliage will get gushy in the water and create bacteria that will kill your flowers. Vase life is greatly improved if you clean your stems really well. And so I'm going to cut it a little shorter because this is going to be the start. And then with any woody like a lilac or anything like that, I'm going to also make, see if we can see this here, a slit up the stem, like a little clip, or you can remove a little bit of bark. Like hydrangea, I do the same thing. Just it helps it drink water because it has all that bark, which is hard to get water through. And you'll see here, now that I have that grid, I'll pull off a little more, it's holding it up in place. And so I'm just going to start placing this type of flower around the vase, going in towards the middle. So like on an angle like this. Grab myself some more. This stuff is so cute. And you already see how it's covering that tape visually, just by being a full branchy leafy flower. This is Snowball Viper. I'm just kind of letting it fall where it naturally wants to fall. Maybe a little tall on that one. And this is going to get you a start of the shape of your arrangement, is but however that first structure kind of naturally wants to go, is the lines are going to follow. So I'm just putting this in the outer rim of the vase just to kind of create a structure. I'm going to put this in the back here. Now I'm designing on a Lazy Susan just because I have it available and it's going to be easier for me to show you. But the key is to make an all-around arrangement, just to turn your vase off often when you arrange. Sometimes I'll get stuck and I'll forget to turn it, and then all of a sudden you turn it and your back is completely empty. So that's a good reminder. But now if you were making an arrangement that's, say, to go on your credenza or get, a fireplace where there's a wall behind it, you don't really need to focus on the back. As long as there's something there that's going to help support your stems, maybe just this beginning flower, is really all you're going to need. So I'm just using another little piece, angling it in towards the middle, so it goes right to the bottom on the opposite side. And so now I've kind of created, it's got its own little thing happening here. Let's see. I like this piece in the front, how this hangs over. So it's already becoming full just by adding that little bit. And I mean, I still have a good portion of this left, so I'm gonna take another piece here, pull off the blooms. And I'm gonna leave this one taller and see if I can create a side that has maybe a little bit more, so I can start creating some sort of shape. And then I'm gonna cut that slit up the side, up the stem. It's a little like 1 inch, ½ inch. And then I'm gonna put it, just build it up a little somewhere. And so now I'm having one side that's a little heavier with this. Just gonna kind of create some interest. We'll stick it up a little higher. And it's gonna move around, just hook it on another stem. There, now it's hooked on another stem. So it already has like some wild, natural kind of movement to it. And then I'm gonna go, and I feel like this is very heavy in here. I'm just gonna clip out a couple of these blooms. Maybe this one too. So that I create a little valley give me some room to to place my other steps. And so you can save this or use all the parts, however you want to do it. One more little piece left. And so now I have the starting like heavier flowers. And now I have a secondary greenery that's a little less thick, but it's still very cute. It's called pennycress. It grows really well here in Wisconsin. You may even have some wild around your yard. We cultivate it for filler. And so now something like this is something like this is very branchy. And so I can also cut this into 4 different pieces, see? So I'm gonna cut this down into littler pieces because my vase is low. I don't need them to be super tall. And so I've cut this stalk, but you see I have all these leaves here, so I'm going to take those off. And so it's clean. And now with this side going up, I'm going to try to mimic or echo, we're going to use those words a little bit, echo that height over here and kind of make this crescent shape. Might be a little tall. I'm going to put this in the same kind of angles I put in before. And so this viburnum keeps wanting to fall, and I'm just going to let it fall then, because I'm going to otherwise struggle with it the entire time. Clean that off, and I'm going to group these together and kind of make a little grouping of the pennycress. Let's put it towards the front a little. Another piece here. And this one's naturally curving out this direction, so it's going to go that way. And so already it's kind of creating this shape here, just something a little more interesting than your, a straight up and down ball of roses or something. Different kinds of materials make different shapes for sure. And so I'm going to work on making sure I don't forget about the back and just place a little more of this around the outer rim, just to give it some more structure inside. And so it really does help hold up the more delicate bloom that we place in later by having these chunkier things in first, or the greenery. You can start with any greenery I find works really well for an arrangement like this. I'm going to come back around, and I'm going to move, and you'll see that I have 2 kind of focals. I've kind of grouped it all on one side. I put a little bit over here to echo it. It's probably a little hard to see right now. You can see it there. And a little bit in the back to make sure your eye is kind of moving with the pennycress around. And now I still have a little left. We can use it at the end if we need to. Just kind of save it for now. It depends how much I wanted to put in right away. I'm going to use this one more little piece and kind of stick it in the middle. Okay. So now I have created this net or structure to build upon. And it's already beautiful because just call it like it is. Snowball viburnum can just go in a vase and be an arrangement. But let's make it super lush and garden. And I have this one little broken piece of viburnum I'm just going to stick in here in the back. I had an empty space. Okay. So now I'm going to think about my next flower I'm going to put in. And so you're going to have different kinds of flowers in your pack. You're going to have regular ranunculus, butterfly ranunculus, anemone, and tulip, and then some little jingly shooting stars for the end. So I'm going to start with the flower that is the most visually heavy flower. Sometimes it's physically the heaviest, like a giant peony, and sometimes it's just visually the biggest. So like anemone is visually a larger flower sometimes if it opens really wide. But I've had these tulips opening and they're going to be my biggest bloom. So I'm going to start with my biggest bloom, and it's going to be my most visually heavy bloom, and it's going to also be the lowest bloom in my vase. And then I'm going to build up from there as I go from heavy to the lightest bloom. It's going to be this really adorable jingly prairie plant that's native here called shooting star. They smell amazing. Okay, so I've got my little tulip here. I've had them opening. So before I go any further, a big part of arranging is to make sure that your flowers are all prepped and ready to go. And so what I recommend is almost you do this the day before you're going to design. So you'll go get all your flowers. You're going to just take those bottom leaves off that don't want to be in the vase. You want to give everything a fresh cut when you buy it. And then get them all ready in a vase of water and put them somewhere where they can unfurl. Your arrangement is going to have so much more impact if you can let them open before you use them. It's really hard to design with really tight closed flowers. They have less impact. You don't really know what's going to happen once they open. They move around a little bit. So to let them open is how I make these kind of arrangements, especially for weddings or a gift or something like that, where you want more impact. Now for the market or wholesale, I'm going to sell it closed so it travels really well, doesn't get damaged, and then it can open for the customer. But in this kind of situation, I'm going to let them open. And so this is so much more beautiful, you know, than a closed tulip. And this is just to enjoy yourself, and flowers age beautifully. I think they're all the most beautiful right before the petals fall off, especially ranunculus. So my heavy, visually heavy flower, I'm gonna put low, and I'm gonna start creating my arrangement. So that's nice and low. You don't have to center it, it just wanted to snuggle in right there on that viburnum, so I'm gonna go with that because that's what's happening there. And then I have another parrot tulip. I believe yours are going to be orange in your kit because they're the freshest. These are just really my most open ones, so I just grabbed them. So I'm going to cut that short as well. And now I'm thinking about my shape and how it's going, so maybe I want to group these together. Bring those heavier flowers low. You can't really see it here, but it is needed in the back. So that's where the second one's gonna go. And you know, from up here, up top, I see this well. Just, this is very flattening this a little bit with the 2D platform, but you get the gist. So I have another tulip. And now another trick about tulips that I want to show you is that where you take the leaves off, let's see if I can come around to my desk here. You'll see they have these like component, these little, where the leaves used to be. Now if those end up in the water, they tend to dirty your water. So what, I'm gonna cut this pretty short. But what I like to do is scrape that with like a paring knife just to clean that stem up. So the cleaner the stem, the better the vase life. But I don't need that tall. And so I have this beautiful Negrita tulip. Now tulips are wonderful when they're warm because you can manipulate them. I'm going to come around again. So if, say it's not quite open yet, what I do is I take my finger and my thumb and I just gently push it. Like it to focus. There we go. I'm just going to pull it back, especially these doubly ones. And then it's really nice and open. Okay, so now I have the front. Now I could do something up here or over here. Over here. So I think I'm going to turn it and put it over in this region. So it kind of carries that color almost in a triangle. This one's going to be a little taller, so it can hang out the outside of the vase a little. And so now that color is being brought in throughout the arrangement. It's maybe not the most noticeable from the front, but it helps balance it out. So I have like a little triangle of flowers here. Now you could group them all in one spot, but I like to place them throughout, especially these big heavy flowers. They're going to help my other flowers go in. Okay. See if I can turn up the lighting a little. It's a little dark in here. I think it's gonna rain. Okay. So now I have my tulips, my viburnum, and I've kind of created a shape just by using the natural flowers and how they fall. Okay. Now I'm gonna go in with my next flower. And for when I look at my flowers, the next visually heavy flower is going to be my anemone. My anemone opened really large. Some of them are smaller than others, but I have a couple big ones here. I'm going to use that next to build up my arrangement. So I'm thinking over here would be a nice way to bring that color up to this side. So I'm going to make sure everything gets a fresh cut, even if you're not going to cut too much off. And so now I have this net in here to hold up this delicate flower. All this viburnum, the tape, everything. Make sure it gets down in the water. I want to angle it out just a tad more, so I'm going to move it. Okay. Grab another one. Very purpley magenta. I'm just going to cut a little off this one because I want it to stay pretty tall. I don't want any flowers to be at the same height. Kind of ruins the visual. Now this one I'm facing towards me, so I'm trying not to forget about the back side. But then you can still see that color from the front. But then you also have this pop. If you were to put this on a table, you want to make sure that every side is fun to look at. So far I've just put in 5 flowers and it's already coming together. So you don't need a whole lot if you have the right kind of structure and the right kind of vase. Let's see, what else do I have here? I'm going to bring in this anemone. It's a little lighter, which is nice. Let's see if I can get this to stay where I want it. Now I put this here and I immediately want to move it because like eyeballs, same exact height, it's not going to be as interesting. So what I'm going to try to do, and actually this anemone is going to work better. So this anemone has a natural curve, and so I'm going to try to curve it and bring it out here. I really like how that looks. So I'm going to leave it longer because it's going to go on more of an extreme angle. It's going to cross in that middle and just gently wiggle it in there. It's a little long, a little too long. And now it's over here, bringing that color into this section, following whatever this viburnum's doing. It's going to hang out with this viburnum over here. It's already naturally going this direction. Just move it one more time because it's in the pennycrest was crossed weird on it. Okay. So I'm gonna let it go with this viburnum down here. Push it ever so slightly because these are nice and warm. They're not gonna break. Be really gentle, kind of get it to hang there. And so now I have this nice base where this color is moving throughout, and I'm gonna work on bringing things up to give it more interest and to look a little bit more like a natural garden. A natural garden is going to have things at all different heights and sizes, and that's how you get that true garden feel. Okay, so I've got 3 tulips and 3 anemones so far, and it's already a beautiful arrangement, but I want to do more flowers all the time. And so I also have these beautiful coral ranunculus. So now I'm going to bring in another color. I'm going to work with 2 types of colors in various shades. It may not look it right here, but these are 2 different kinds of purples, but they're very similar, so they go really lovely. Now I'm going to bring in another color just for funsies. And again, I cut a little off. I made sure my stem is clean. Now these, because they're visually less heavy, are great to go up high. They are fun and showy and petal rich. And so I'm going to give that some space. I know that feels like, oh, it's so different than the rest of the heights of the flowers. But that's going to come in handy as I build. And so I already have something tall over here. I'm going to bring something tall over there. And this one, speaking of this tall one, it's kind of falling. So I'm going to move him. Okay. So there's height there, and there's height there. And he's going to move. You'll probably see me touch him a lot to face the camera. Now, in real life, he could face any which way. But it helps you get a better visual. So now I'm bringing something floating above the other flowers, giving some space to really show it off. Oh, I just love these. I've let these open so wide and they're so beautiful. Let's just take a look at how wonderful ranunculus is. Let's see, can we focus? There we go. Look at that. Look at all those petals. And they have lovely curves. They're all very different. So let's make sure that we're focused. Okay. And so now I definitely want to bring more of this color. So what about right here seems like a great spot to put more ranunculus. I'm just looking around because that's going to not need to be very tall. I might grab one that's a little shorter. Use that first. Oh, he's a good one. And it's always better to cut him too tall first, obviously, because you can't undo the cut. Just plop them right in there, tuck them behind there. And so now that color is moving around. And so I'm going to turn it now, because you'll see we'll need that color on this side. And we've got a little height here. You can kind of just, you know, I'm working in front of this camera, so it's a little different for me. It's very 2D, and I can see what it's going to look like. But trying things and moving it is a lot of fun too. So I think it just needs to be that triangle again on the other side. Give it a fresh cut. No, I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to put it in, and I can move it. Nothing is permanent. I really like him snuggled in this viburnum here. It felt like a gap of color at first, but let's get him in there. So he's low and he's in the back, so he's not necessarily something I see from the front, but visually it's moving my eye around like from up top and if it was on a table. And so far, I can't really move the camera or my whole thing will fall down, but if I were to look down into my vase, the middle is actually more open as I'm putting everything to start around the side of the vase and going in. And I'm leaving that middle open for things that are going to go a little straighter up. But I can put something deep in the middle to hold something up anytime it feels like really wobbly. A great thing to do is just cut another piece of viburnum or whatever and stick it straight down in the middle. It acts like a keystone and it will hold everything in place. And so now with the coral, I have the two colors. I love working with different color palettes, and this is just making me happy personally because they're not something like I would normally do with a wedding. But it sure is gorgeous. Okay, and I'm going to bring in, that one's going to be hard for you to tell on camera, another type of orange. This like pale, normally I would probably not touch this one as much and just let it open. It's a more pale orange. It looks a little brighter here, but it's just to bring in a little bit more interest. And so making sure that all those leaves are off the bottom. You can save the little buds if you have some cute little buds on your ranunculus. Like this one has these little buds. They can be cute too. You can cut them off and save them for the end. Okay, so now I've got ranunculus going this way. I'm wondering if I should go bring it in this region or keep going really tall out the side. Let's see. I have some other things to go tall, so I think I'll bring this color a little closer. So I'm going to cut this one fairly short and hope for the best. And get it in the middle, even a little shorter because it seems right on top of the other one. And so now sometimes it gets a little harder to get those flowers in when you get more stems in there, but just turn them as you go and just gently wiggle them. So you don't really see that one from your angle. You see it popping a little bit behind here, but it's really nice from the top to have that color also in the middle and so it can travel through. And I'm still thinking about where to put him. I'm blocking my own visuals. So I think I'm going to go out the side this way. I think every time I put it here, I like it. Now if I can get it in the spot I want, it's another story. And so now we're going outwards. We're creating something a little bit more dramatic.